Happy Friday. Ben Lansgard here with Dan Kramer. And today we just wanted to talk real quick about really a foundational tool in the wealth building toolbox. And because we get a lot of questions about this, and it's really about life insurance. We have that conversation with people a lot, and the big question we get is, it's just there for my family. How can I actually use it while I'm alive? How does it benefit me? And so we're just going to go into a couple of things, really the living benefits of what life insurance can do as that foundational piece. So Dan, we get that question all the time. So where would you start?
Yeah. Well, I would start by saying, when we take on clients, we look at everything in their finances, right? So it's not just life insurance, but if in what I've learned over the last few years, life insurance, real estate, retirement accounts, those are some pretty common staples in people's financial wealth building. And so for today's aspect, I told Ben, let's just answer some of the questions we get. Life insurance, pretty boring, right? So we're going to try to make it kind of sexy, kind of fun, right? So there's two conversations we teach people. What is the right amount we can have? And by amount, I mean, if you died, how much would pay out in the death benefit, right? A lot of people don't have no clue, right? So what is the right amount? Think of the death benefit as replacement of your economic value, right? So if you got hit by the bus tomorrow, how much would those that depend on you be missing out on in your income making years, right? Your assets type of thing, right? And that's what the life insurance company will look at and go, yep, this is how much we'll cover you for. So what's the right amount? The second conversation is what's the right type of insurance? So for those that listening today, we're going to talk about term insurance. It's a temporary amount. It's usually really cheap and you can get a lot of coverage. But the downside is it's only there for a limited amount of time. And if you don't die within that limited amount of time, right, you are foregoing all of your premiums and the death benefit. So life insurance 99% of the time, because 99% of term policies don't pay out, is a loss. So we teach people to convert it to a thing called permanent coverage that builds cash inside of it, and the death benefit is guaranteed to stay on the books forever. All right, so that was the educational piece. I want to help you guys, if you're listening, understand why would I ever do that, right? It's expensive. You don't get all your cash back, all this stuff. The insurance company is the only one that win. People like you, Dan, are the only one that make money on this. Okay, so let's just talk through that a little bit, right? Why would I come on here today with Ben, take our time, and try to help you understand this? And why do people like me put money into it? I got to still pay premiums, right? So let's talk through some of that. Ben, just right off the cuff, I know I didn't give you a question to think about, but why do you have permanent insurance versus only term?
So the biggest, there's really the thing that comes to mind is two living benefits. And number one is the permanent death benefit. And you talked a little bit about this. I have a death benefit that's guaranteed to pay out whether I die tomorrow or whether I die at 110. So it's there forever. And why would that be important to me? Well, it's important because as I go through life and I invest and I grow my assets, buy more businesses, buy more real estate, put a bunch of money into retirement accounts, whatever the assets are. Once I get to that age where I really no longer want to contribute and I want to retire and quit working and take income from that, knowing that I have a tax-free death benefit that's going to go to my family and charities and the important people I want it to go to, allows me to take all of my assets that I built up. Say I have $5 million in assets and I have a $5 million death benefit. That's the optimal design. I can spend all $5 million of my assets knowing that when I croak, that $5 million is going to come right back to my family. But I don't have to live in fear that I'm going to run out of money because, hey, I don't have to worry about disinheriting anybody. They're going to get plenty. So that's reason number one. Reason number two is the cash value inside of the policy. Over time, the cash value, the premiums that you pay go into cash value to the point where your cash value goes up in value by as much and eventually more than the cash you put into the policy. And this is where people get all out of whack. Okay, to access that money, you got to borrow it, and you're borrowing from yourself. It doesn't make any sense. And to that, I would say you're not borrowing from yourself. You're using your cash value as collateral to borrow money from the life insurance company. And that allows your money to keep growing uninterrupted. It allows you to access it tax-free, and it allows you to go and make more investments and continue to grow your assets. So I have $1 that is buying me a permanent death benefit. It's allowing me to use other people's money, the life insurance company's money, to go and invest in more assets. And it's growing. Now, granted, it's not growing as like an investment. It's not an investment. But I have that dollar doing multiple jobs. So that's what they call velocity of money. That's what banks do. Banks use $1 and they make it do multiple jobs. They'll lend out that dollar multiple times. So if you can have your money doing more than just one single job, you're going to be much further ahead than if you just have it in one place where it can only do one thing. So kind of a long answer, but those are the two reasons why I put money into a life insurance contract.
Yeah, it boils down to one word. It's called leverage, right? So your first example of having the permanent death benefit, cool, right? What does that mean? Well, it means you can leverage that permanent death benefit to maximize the spending of your other assets. We show this to people all the time. The second part, so, okay, Dan, but I'm not 65. I don't care about when I retire so much. What about now? Well, here's the cool part. The second part, what Ben was just talking about, you can leverage the money while you're building wealth to add more assets. So it's simple. You can store your money in a safe place. You can use it to build assets. And now you're in a position later on in life to have maximum spendability of your income, of your assets. Kind of cool, right? And we show this people all the time. So let's jump into it. Well, Dan, I don't know if, I've heard some really bad things about whole life and insurance and permanent and all this stuff. I think we should buy term insurance and invest the difference. And we're going to have so much more money because those greedy insurance companies won't get our premiums. I'm fine with you doing that, by the way. Go ahead, right? But the math says to have the same spendability of your assets in retirement, to have the same income, you need to do 2 to 3 times as many assets to make sure you don't run out of money. And the reality is most people don't. Most people get to retirement, they don't have enough assets, and so they're scared of running out of money. So what do? They spend less in retirement, and they shrink their lifestyle, right? So the reason we're having this talk today is I've been observing, I've been in the industry about 7 or 8 years. I don't pretend to know everything. And I actually shift mindsets along the way. I was that guy saying only buy term, invest the difference, never buy the permanent stuff. But you have to look around you. Like, how many people are getting wealthy today, right? It's a broken system. Like 90% of retirees are afraid of running out of money. and are prepared to go back to work to make ends meet. That's a failed system. So this buy term, invest the difference mentality has been around for about 40 or 50 years, right? And now we're seeing the results. All of the people retired today have lived through that mentality, right? And back to Ben's point, wealthy people and banks and institutions, they store their wealth in permanent life insurance, right? Why would they do that? They have enough money of their own. They don't need the death benefit. No, the cash inside the policy, it's protected. You can't lose it. It can't go down in value if it's structured properly. It grows tax-free and it grows guaranteed. And that leverage component, you can use it without an application. You can't be denied money as long as you have it in there. So for some of those reasons, some of you will still stick to your ways. That's fine. But just ask yourself what works. What is working in today's market? And how do we use these products as tools to have more control of your money? So hopefully that was helpful. Close us out, Ben.
Yeah. No, and reach out with questions because, I used to be like Dan, a very anti whole life. Don't ever touch it. Don't ever buy it. And it took me a while to actually understand it and get it to the point where I said, okay, now it makes 100% sense. So reach out with questions. There's so much out there of, hey, well, it's bad because of this, because that. We're going to tackle a lot of those things in upcoming live streams and show different, if we can, we'll show some case studies and just talk about different strategies of how it can be used in your early years and later on in your late years in retirement, and how it can also help with volatility and stuff. So there's a lot more to talk about, but yeah, for now, keep learning. If you want to learn more about it, one good book out there I could recommend is by a lady named Kim Butler, and it's called Busting Life Insurance Lies. So if you want to start with one, that's a good one. The other one is called Volatility Shield by David McKnight, and I'll make sure to put those in the comments. That one's a nice, short, easy, reads like a novel, so that one's a little more interesting. But reach out if you have questions, and yeah, we'll see you again next week.